Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Sometimes life hands you lemons. Other times, it hands you a wife and a brother who think your guest room is the perfect spot for betrayal. Today on rSpace, how to get toxic people out of your life. Wife cheated on me with my brother while I was in the house. I cut him off and exposed them to everyone. I never thought I was going to find myself in such a mess of a situation. Normally, like the last time I was cheated on, I might have been wondering what I was doing that made my partner decide to cheat on me. But this time around, I've been betrayed by two people who should have been loyal to me. And the silver lining is that it convinces me that it absolutely wasn't my fault. I, 42 male, have been married to Angela, 40 female, for 11 years. Things have been good. I thought that things were good. We got through 3 big moves that were necessary for work, and she started her own business, which has been doing pretty well. We knew we weren't going to have kids, so things were very straightforward for us. And at what I think was an early point, we were able to put a payment down on a house. We've been paying the mortgage, and we've made good progress with it. It sucks that despite this fact, it felt like everything was going fine. We've ultimately going to divorce. There's no way around it. And no, it's not the mere fact that we're splitting it that hurts. It's everything around it. It's the betrayal. It's the end of what was a good thing. It's realizing that I have no idea what is in the future for me, because something that I've been used to for 11 years is about to disappear. It's better than living a lie, though, and I'm glad I know the truth. Before I get into exactly what happened, I have to talk about my older brother. He's 45, and while he was ambitious when we were younger, something went wrong at some point, and he eventually just lost the drive for success. I've tried on numerous occasions to set him up and get him self-sufficient, but he always finds some way to self-sabotage, and eventually, it started to drive me mad. I worry about the future because I can't have him freeloading off me forever. The only reason he's still around me is because he's blood. But if he were a friend, I would have kicked him to the curb by now. Because of the hard times that he's facing, he is currently living in our house. We have 2 extra rooms, though I use one as an office for when I'm working at home. We made the guest room comfy for him, and I've continued to try and get him to take initiative and get something going for himself. But it doesn't work that well. I've considered threatening him with eviction if he doesn't get a job. He won't even need to pay rent, but I just wanted him to start being serious with his life. It's clear that his support system, his family, is the reason why he's able to keep being a bum. So he has been living with us for a little close to 2 months now, and he gets along well enough with my wife. They never seemed like best of friends, but at the same time, they didn't hate each other. That worked well for me. Angela tries to present herself as an elegant kind of woman most of the time, and my brother Patrick, while not a hobo, could do a lot better in presenting himself. So they seemed like oil and water to me. I was just glad that they got along well enough for there not to be any major issues at home. My whole life fell apart on what was meant to be just a regular night. Patrick had been at home the entire day. I got back from work, and then Angela was the last to be back. We watched a new episode of a show together over dinner, and then I headed to the room I wasn't intending to fall asleep in, but I did, while I was reading a book. The thing is, I woke up what I think was probably about an hour later, and I noticed that Angela wasn't back in bed. I'm typically a heavy sleeper, so even if she had climbed in, I normally wouldn't have woken up. So I knew it wasn't like she was trying to let me sleep peacefully or something. I got out of bed and checked the living room, and while the TV was still on, there was no one there. I checked all the places in the house that she could have been that late at night, but I couldn't find her. I peeped out the window and her car was still parked. The front door was locked from the inside too. I decided to ask my brother if he knew where she was because even up until that point, I couldn't have fathomed the real situation. When I knocked on his door, I heard scrambling and alarm bells went off in my head. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. I'm typically a very well-adjusted individual, but at that very moment, I understood what was going on and I lost my shit. I kicked the door 3 times and broke it off its hinges. I was quick enough to see Angela putting on the t-shirt that she wears around the house, while Patrick tried to approach the door, maybe to block me. I pushed him away and took in the sight. By that point, my wife was fully dressed and my brother was only wearing boxers. There was a pack of condoms that was almost fully under the bed, but I could see it poking out. I have always hated it when people ask stupid questions, but in that moment, the only thing I could think of to say was, "What the hell is going on here?" It was so obvious what was going on. My brother tried to calm me down and take me out of the room, but I refused to budge. It was so hard for my head to actually digest what I was looking at. The fact that I caught my wife cheating wasn't enough, but that she was cheating with my brother? I genuinely didn't know what I was supposed to do. Part of me wanted to crash out and attack him. Part of me wanted to attack her. It was hard to figure out who was meant to be more loyal to me, but in the end, I realized that it didn't matter, because you expect your brother and your wife to both be incredibly loyal to you, and both of them chose to betray me while I was in the house. I somehow had the presence of mind to ask them how long it had been happening, and at that same time, my brother said a few weeks, but my wife said it was the first time. I could obviously tell which of the two answers was more likely to be the truth. I couldn't handle it, so I got out of the house, got in the car, and just went on a very, very long drive. I must have driven for about 3 hours in the dead of night, and by the time I found somewhere to park, I saw nearly 40 missed calls from both of them. I just sat in the parked car. I'll admit, I cried, and then I eventually fell asleep. It was already bright out by the time I had woken up, and they had called me and texted me even more, but I felt no urge to answer them. I called off from work that day and I just kept driving. But this time around, I was playing loud music because the combo was helping keep my mind off of the disaster waiting for me at home. It was only that evening that I made the long drive back home, nearly 24 hours after I left. They were shocked and relieved to see me, but it sucked that I didn't feel the same way when I saw them. They tried to act concerned, but I didn't need their concern because they had none of that when they chose to sleep together. I told both of them that they needed to pack out of the house. I didn't want to see either of them by this time that I woke up. My brother told me that he had nowhere to go, but I let him know that I really didn't care. If he had known that I was his lifeline in terms of having a roof over his head, then there was no reason why he should have chosen to bite me and sleep with my wife. He had made that choice, and there was nothing I could do about it. I pointed to Angela and let him know that he could follow her wherever she went, but the chances were that she likely didn't want anything to do with him from that point. She tried to come up to me and beg me, repeating the lie that it was only the first time that it had happened between them. She said she didn't have any explanation for it. It was just a whim that she shouldn't have followed. She kept cooking up excuses, and when I got tired, I walked past her and went upstairs to sleep. By the time I woke up, she was gone, but he was packing the last of his things. He asked if I could drop him off somewhere, claiming that we're still family, but I told him that the family I had wouldn't do something as horrible as what he did. I told him that I know he was comfortable with disappointing people, but I didn't expect him to do it in such a disgusting fashion this time around. I let him know that he could find his own way to whatever couch he was going to crash on. A few hours later, he was out of the house. While I felt some relief, things still felt incredibly heavy because I knew, and I know, that the pain I'm feeling isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I was married for 11 years. It's going to take a very long time for me to shed that pain, and the only thing I can hope to do is shed it fast. Hopefully, that happens for me. For now, though, I'm focusing on getting divorced from her. That's going to be the first step of my healing process, and I think it is arguably the most important one. I've met with a divorce lawyer, and I've paid him to get things started. I also don't even know who to tell about everything that I'm going through. I've only told one close friend, and as much as I want to tell my parents, I have enough headaches to deal with right now, without including major family involvement. I'd rather take care of everything at first, before I let them understand what's going on. They deserve to know, not just because their son is getting divorced, but because their other son caused it. I'll figure things out, though. Divorce isn't the kind of thing that you want to learn to a T. You want to be done with it once and never have to deal with it ever again. Your wife and your brother deserve zero sympathy. They didn't just betray you, they disrespected you, your home, and everything you built. Living under your roof and still going behind your back? That's disgusting. They clearly have no loyalty, no decency, and no idea what it means to be a part of a family. At this point, the best thing you can do is wash your hands of both of them entirely and let them stew in the mess they made. They've shown their true colors, and honestly, there's nothing worth salvaging. Update. I'm really sorry that I couldn't post an update much earlier than this. Needless to say, there was a lot going on in my life, and this wasn't the first thing that I was concerned with sorting. I just wanted to return some degree of normalcy to my life. I think I've done that to a degree, though things won't actually be normal for a very long time. Just in case you need a recap, I told a story of how I found out that my wife was cheating on me with my bum brother, who I had given the guest room in our house. They did this while I was at home because they felt like I'd be asleep long enough for them to do what they wanted to do. I found out and eventually kicked them both out of the house. I had already met with a divorce lawyer and gotten the papers prepped. They were with me, but I just needed to figure out how to get them over to Angela, my wife. In the end, despite the fact that I wanted to see her reaction when I got the papers to her, I just got it sent over through a process server, and I made sure that they had her served while she was at work, since I had no idea where she was living after I kicked her out. I knew when she had gotten it because she called me crying. She said that she knew she messed up real bad, but that she'd do anything to let me know how much she regretted what she had done. She said it was a very big lapse in her judgment, and she had done it out of pure physical craving. She had no feelings for my brother, according to her. I asked her when the last time she had seen him was, and I felt like there was a little bit of hesitation before she said she hadn't seen him since the day I kicked them both out. I wasn't convinced of that, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want her to waste her time, so I let her know that there was no point in trying to convince me of anything. There was no way I'd be able to be in a peaceful marriage with the woman who I knew had slept with my brother. She needed to move on because I was learning to move on already. It wasn't like she had given me a choice after all. Several hours later, my brother called. I really didn't want to pick up his call because there was nothing he could tell me, but I did it anyway, because I really wanted to know what he had to say. He told me that Angela had told him that we were getting divorced, but he said it wasn't that serious. He claimed he had been the one who had come on to her very strongly, and that he had been very strong with his approach. He said that it never would have happened if not for him, and that I didn't need to put the blame on her. I told him that I could smell what was going on. She had put him up to taking the bullet for her since there was so little to lose at that point. Unfortunately, unless he actually forced himself on her, which I know didn't happen, there was nothing to talk about. It had been consensual, and that was all I needed to know, that I didn't want either of them in my life. I hung up on him and blocked his number. When the divorce process started, I encouraged my attorney to go all in. I didn't want her to end up with anything of value because she had ruined my life, and there was no reason why she didn't deserve to have some degree of consequences for that. In the end, I ended up keeping the house, though I do expect to sell it at some point in the future. I don't think I'm going to appreciate the memories that the house has baked into it at this point. She didn't get alimony, but I also left her business untouched because I didn't need things to get to that level of messy. We each kept our individual cars, and we split our joint savings down the middle. It was just good to finally be rid of her and to finally be able to call her an ex-wife. I tried to move on with life as best I could, but honestly, the whole saga was still nagging at me. It was so difficult for me to move on from the entire situation because it felt like she had just destroyed my life and then walked away from it scot-free. The truth is that she can't say the divorce was her punishment. It was merely the right consequence for what she had done. I felt like she needed to feel pain, and my brother as well. So the first thing I did was reach out to my entire family, including many of our closer extended family members. I let them know that Angela and I were no longer together, and I made it clear that the reason was that my brother, Patrick, had slept with her under my roof. That went exactly as expected, and over the next 2 hours or so, I was on phone calls with relatives who were really concerned about what I had just revealed. A lot of them were incredulous, but I let them know that it was the entire truth and that Patrick himself wouldn't have the balls to deny it if they asked. A lot of them said that they were going to reach out to him to confront him. I didn't care about that part. I was just glad to make sure that everyone had an extra reason to be disappointed in the guy. Maybe now they'll stop supporting him as much. He's given them a reason to pull away from him. As for Angela, I made sure she got it much worse. Since my relatives already knew, I went straight to her relatives and friends. I had no idea if she had told them the truth, but I doubted it. I also decided to tell them the same thing that to the 2 employees of hers whose numbers I had. I made sure everyone knew the kind of person she was, so that if they were expecting loyalty, they understood that it was better for them to look elsewhere. She wasn't angry when she got served with papers, but she was angry now that I had ruined the image that she had of being such a sweet, elegant woman with a solid marriage. I let her know that I was getting my get back. The divorce wasn't your revenge? I told her that the question was stupid, because it was just the normal course when someone you had been married to for over a decade chooses to cheat on you with your brother. She said I didn't need to go that far. I told her that I only did the right thing. She wasn't a person to be trusted, and the people closest to her deserved to know that she could stab them in the back at any time. She stabbed me in the back, despite us having the closest bond that 2 unrelated people are meant to have. I told her that I was going to block her after the call, since there wasn't anything that was ever going to bring us together again. I made sure to do that too. My brother showed up at the house with a sob story about how things were incredibly tough for him. He said that he regretted everything that he had done, and that if he could take his actions back, he would. He said that all he needed was a place to stay, but I told him he wasn't going to find it with me, and I asked him to leave. He kept trying to beg. I let him know that I was going to call the police. He asked if he could at least get $20, but I told him that it'd be better if he got a job like we had been hoping he would do for the last several years of his life. I told him to never come back or I'd get a protective order against him. That has scared him enough to stay far away, so far. It's going to be incredibly hard for me to bounce back from this, seeing as that I didn't just lose a wife, but I lost a brother too, and my only sibling at that. But I feel like I'm already making the right steps towards healing from this entire mess that has been dropped in my lap. I wish them both the worst going forward. You made the only smart moves. Kicked him out, got the divorce handled, and made sure everyone who matters knows exactly who they are. No alimony games, no drawn-out drama, just cutting them out of your life and letting the consequences hit where they should. That's as clean and ruthless as it gets, and they deserve every bit of that fallout. If your spouse and your sibling both completely betrayed you, what would you do? Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon.